I'm so happy to be back with my Monday lives, and today I'm really excited to talk about Mexican cacao and Mexican chocolate, both because it has a special emotion and a special place in my heart after having spent a lot of time in Mexico, but it's also something that has been wished for by a few of you watching these lives, that you want to get to know some Mexican makers and learn more about Mexican cacao. So that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna invite Cuna De Piedra to come live with me today and to talk about chocolate. Hi! Hola, ¿qué tal?
How are you?
I'm good.
Can you hear us?
I'm so excited to see you. Yes, I can hear you.
So excited to see you too. We haven't done an Instagram live in a while, like in 6 months or something like that. It's so nice to connect with you virtually. Yeah.
Nice. So I'm going to introduce you to the people who might not have heard of you, even though I know a lot of people who love craft chocolate have heard about Cuna De Piedra. So a Mexican bean-to-bar craft chocolate maker, and you have an amazing team. And today I'm talking to 3 of you, which is absolutely lovely. So let me introduce you to Enrique, to Mariana, and to Gama. And we'll be talking both English today and Spanish. Pues si tienen preguntas en español o quieren decirnos algo en español, hablamos español también. So, please tell me, to begin with, what are your different roles in Cuna De Piedra?
Well, it's kind of different complicated to explain because since we're still kind of new in like a small project, we kind of do everything, a little bit of everything. So I'm one of the co-founders. Mariana and Gama are the head chocolate makers here. And I don't know if you guys can explicar lo que hacen.
Okay. Hi, I'm the head chef, just like Kike said. Also with Gama, I'm like developer of new flavors of these products. I'm gonna take the Spanish that Kike said with some words. Oh, it's funny. And I also have this. Kike me distrajo. Tengo análisis sensorial, entonces también les ayudo con el último paso, con los últimos detalles de los sabores.
Yes, basically how all this started is I studied food processing engineering, so I was a food consultant, like on innovation and food quality, like for 8 years. And one of my first clients were the Yanderal family. They are the owners of Chocolate Solutions. It's a Mexican company here in Monterrey, and they started selling like bonbons. Actually, the founder, Mr. Jorge Yanderal, he's a master chocolatier, and then they started selling bonbons, and then all the machinery and equipment to make everything possible. And then they started growing so much with these different divisions. And then I started working with them like 8 years ago as a consultant, as an independent external consultant. And then one day a friend of mine, Vicky Gonzalez, she's a Mexican designer. We were like dreaming about creating a project where we could like be like putting Mexico's name on a very high place. And then like we connected the dots because I knew the Yanderal family. I also knew from those years Gama and Mariana, and I knew that we could be like the best team to make this possible. And so with the expertise, like Mariana, with all the sensory analysis, product development, Gama, he's like a super roasting master here in Mexico, in my opinion. So, like with my methodology of new product development, Vicky's creative methodology of not methodology, but her creative mind to create a brand and a brand strategy, along with Ricardo Acuña, who is the art director in her studio, the Golden Studio Workroom. So, like, we team up and we created this beautiful project that we're so in love with.
Thank
So
you.
that's like in a short story that's how it started. Fast forward 2 years, we're here in 2021, still feeling Casanova.
And you've gotten a lot of recognition for your product, both for the chocolate itself, with all of the flavors that you work with, and for the design, which is absolutely amazing. If anyone hasn't seen their bars, I just nibbled on one before going live. And I adore these designs, which also show part of the history and where chocolate comes from traditionally in Mexico. And I know that this care for the traditions of cacao in Mexico is important for you as a brand as well. So can you please share a little bit about the Mexican history of cacao and how that is important for you?
Yeah, well, it all basically started even before we could call it Mexico. It was like more than 4,000 years ago. It was Mesoamerica. And, because of Mocayas who decided to settle in Soconusco, and they started working with domesticating cacao, working with it obviously with beverages. Like a chocolate bar is such a contemporary take on what it actually is. I mean, what it's more like in a language with our tradition. So that's how it all started. And like we're so blessed that Soconusco is part of what we now call Mexico. So that's why we feel so connected to that, because chocolate in Mexico is like our part of our traditions. Not only drinks, also savory dishes, and it's always like gives us those memories of being with loved ones and sharing either chocolate or something related to cacao. And it's always intended to be for sharing, and it also, this connection with the Mexican biodiversity, that we're slowly losing it. It's something that is so close to us. Yeah, that's why we wanted to create this project. We wanted this to be 100% Mexican, made in Mexico by us Mexicans. So that's why we feel so connected to them.
That's lovely. And to really being able to share that as well.
Yes. And as you said, the design is like so inspired because our main inspiration is stone, especially lava stone, the one that is used to craft metate, for example. If you're not, I mean, you're super familiar with metate, but for those who are watching us and don't know what metate is, it's like the ancient artifact where cacao was processed, still processed, and it's crafted out of lava stone. It's like a stone plank with a handle, and you use like heat and you start just grinding it. And it is also, I mean, the stone is still present in Mexican gastronomy. There are dishes in the Mexican culture that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the stone. And we also wanted to like, it's like a tribute also to contemporary artists work with stone, who are doing amazing things and repositioning the idea of Mexico outside of Mexico.
Lovely. And all of the ingredients, besides the cacao, as you mentioned, are also from different parts of Mexico. So I know that you're nodding as well, Mariana, and the chili bar, I know you had a lot to do with the chili bar. So can you please tell us about this amazing chili bar?
Yeah, well, this chili bar it was so inspiring. You can't think of a Mexican without thinking of chocolate. Well, not chocolate, but for us, it's cacao, it's maize, and it's chile. Yeah. And when Kike introduced us that chile tres lomos of Veracruz, and I smell it doesn't come out of my mind. That smoked, that that fruitiness, that acidity, and that spice was super duper hot. You can't imagine that super hot because we as a team made an amazing job to channel this spiciness to be able that not like develop a product not only for Mexicans that love spiciness, but for all the people. I'm not a good Mexican because I don't love spicy enough. Right, but I thought while I was developing, like, if I like this, if I can handle this, and if my palate can handle this, and it can enjoy it, everyone can. So we want to mix this, the fruitiness of the Tabasco and a slow roasting profile with the Habana to enhance this, to salivate, and to help your palate to calibrate that super spicy note of the chile, and you can taste both. So around the world, I had some good resemblance that we made that true, and it made it happen. So we are so happy about that.
Yeah, actually, our intention was not to create like a bar that was too spicy that you couldn't even feel like all the flavor profiles of the cacao. We didn't want the chili to overpower the cacao, but we wanted to highlight the chili. Because, you know, this process of smoking this chili lasts 3 days, and the community, they smoke it in fruit-bearing trees like guava, wild cherry, and that smokiness and that fruitiness, we didn't want to lose that. So we had to like tone it down so that those flavors, those like caramelized, fruity flavors from the chili would also express themselves.
Yeah, that's a skill.
Both fruitiness. The fruitiness of the Tabasco, the fruitiness of the chili, and
which, by the way, Tabasco is the name of the region where we source our cacao, because a lot of people outside of Mexico ask us if we add Tabasco sauce in our chocolate bars, and we don't. It's not even Mexican with Tabasco sauce.
Yeah, not everyone knows that Tabasco is actually a state in Mexico. So when it says Tabasco on the bar, yeah, it's the origin. It's the place in Mexico. And with this bar, people will instantly think about chili, with the chili in the bar and Tabasco as an origin.
Yeah, so
and it's a skill to make these two flavors come together without overpowering it. So I really like that you share your personal preference for chili, Mariana, because I mean, I'm in Sweden, and when I'm here, I don't eat as much spicy food as when I'm in Mexico, of course. And now you can find a lot, and people actually start to like it. But as a child, I never had spicy. And then moving to that part of the world, living in the south of the US and in Mexico, I had to get used to spicy food, and now I love it. So this bar is gorgeous, and I'm sharing the comment. I'm checking the comments and people agree with me. It's a wonderful bar. And if anyone watching has any questions in English or in Español, pueden preguntar. So we can take questions in both English and Spanish if anyone is wondering something specific. And if we're going to continue to talk about all of these amazing Mexican ingredients, you also have two bars that got a lot of recognition when you went to the festival in San Francisco last year. Time flies. That's when I first heard about your mezcal bars, with the aged mezcal and one with young mezcal. So can you please tell us a little bit about those two bars as well?
Well, when we started, like the R&D process of this project back in 2019, the fall summer, we were like 3 months doing testing and researching and all that. Like we couldn't create like a project with Mexican product without thinking about mezcal, because mezcal is, we love the connection that mezcal has. It's very similar to cacao because you have a lot of variability. You have different regions, you have different maestras or maestro mezcaleros, different process, different ways of doing the distillation part, like extracting that, either if it's like clay pot still or a copper still, or if you do like two times the process of distillation. So it has a lot of variabilities, and it can express itself also because of the variety of the agave. So we love that because it shows us biodiversity. So that's why we thought of creating a bar, that tastes like not like mezcal, but with mezcal. So, but we also care a lot of sustainability. So we didn't want to create like a mezcal bar with an agave that was not cultivated. Like there's this incredibly beautiful wild agaves, but it wouldn't feel right to us to create a bar. Like why? Because we have like a tepestante that it takes 35 years so that it can be like harvested and processed into a mezcal. So we didn't want to go there. So that's why we stick with Espadín. Espadín is a very sustainable, in our opinion, because it's you can harvest. You can domesticate it and you can plant it. It's not a wild agave. There are wild Espadinas, but this is not a wild. So it was very important to us. So we wanted to stick with just one type of mezcal chocolate, but we love both so much, reposado and joven, that we said, okay, we're doing both. And this, creating these two bars implied like a mezcal hunting trip in Oaxaca back in 2018, and visiting lots of maestros and maestros mezcaleros. Some of the regions, we liked them a lot, and they were incredible mezcales, but none of them were had a specific tasting notes that we were looking for, the cacaos that we have access to. So yeah, it was because of the connection with biodiversity, obviously our culture, and because we feel very inspired by the mezcal industry. We feel that it's very very similar to cacao because of variability.
Yeah. I really like that you took that into consideration as well. Not only the flavor of the mezcal itself, but to also care about the biodiversity and how every ingredient, including the cacao, the maguey, so the plant you use to make the mezcal, for those of you who don't know much about mezcal, to take that into consideration, every aspect, and to teach people around the world a little bit about mezcal and the biodiversity as well as the cacao.
Yeah, and to us it's super important to always state who is a maestro mezcalero that we're working with, because right now mezcal is like getting into a very commercial, I don't know, like a kind of tequila in the 90s, and now like tequila is super industrial. So we don't want mezcal to be like that. We wish to see more mezcales in the market that they state who their maestro mezcalero is, because we need to protect this tradition of who is making it. It's super important to us. And also we develop different roasting profiles for both bars and different origins. So it's a whole different experience, each bar.
They truly are. And I am a big fan of both artisan mezcal, and I like myself a good tequila as well. I can't say otherwise, since I have like part of my like La Alma Mexicana, I've got my Mexican soul, and
Wow.
it's so delicious, and I'm happy that I can find more mezcal and tequilas here. But I really appreciate it with these bars that I can distinguish both the difference of the cacao, but also the way the mezcal comes through is so different. And I thought that I would appreciate more the reposado, because that's usually the mezcal I go for. But I think most of the time I would go for the joven, so the younger one in the chocolate. That's the one that really it was delicate, but yet you have that alcohol and you have that strength of the mezcal. So I'm really happy you made both and didn't just choose one.
It's funny because here in Mexico, the bar that sells the most of those mezcales is joven. But outside of Mexico, from our whole line of mezcal reposado in Chile are our top sellers.
Yeah. That's really exciting. So you notice a big difference in the sales within Mexico and outside. Is it different in different parts of the world or as well?
I think that it's outside of Mexico, it's pretty much the same, like the same pattern, but here in Mexico it's very different because we are more used to mezcal joven, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more like the most accessible, maybe. I so miss traveling to Mexico, so your bars are like lifesavers for me.
Yeah, well, when you come here, we can do like a mezcal hunting trip, or we can go to Origin, and we love to take you there.
Yes, please. Let's just like do a tour of like from Oaxaca to where the mezcal, and then Chiapas and the Soconusco origin, and then we can finish off in Tabasco.
Were you into chocolate when you visited Mexico the last time? Were you like this involved in the chocolate industry?
Not this involved, no. I was I had a huge passion for chocolate, but then I was my last trip to Mexico. I had my business, but then I was more making bonbons, more of a chocolatier with a passion for craft chocolate. And I went to Chiapas, and I met some farmers who grow cacao. But I didn't have the connections that I do now. And I went to Oaxaca, and I went to the markets looking at all of the amazing cacao, but I didn't know people. So I got to know a lot of people, but now I have a lot more connections. So now I have all these amazing people to visit.
Yeah, amazing. So next time if you're in Oaxaca, we can go also to Cimatlan. There is the design studio, Hacer Común, where we are co-creating, the molinillos and now our black clay bowls. Yeah, it'll be fun to see, the process of crafting.
Yeah, and your molinillo is beautiful. For people who don't know, do you have it there? Otherwise, I have a molinillo here. Of course you do. So can you tell, for those who don't know, what is a molinillo?
It's like, I'm gonna see if
like a blank.
It's like a traditional artifact, and we use it to make hot chocolate. We call it chocolate de mesa. So you just put your hands like in a pitcher and it starts frothing the liquid. And yeah, we co-created this along with Eduardo. He's the founder of Hacer Común in Zimatlán, Oaxaca, and it's like a contemporary molinillo, and it's burnt, so that's why it's dark.
Yeah,
So
it's beautiful. So
yeah,
it's wood, and for everyone.
it's totally food grade. It's food grade.
Amazing. And
The
before,
original
oh,
molinillo
yeah,
in Mexico were a little like wood sticks, really.
it's a beautiful development in history, how the Molinillos came to be. All about creating froth and a lot of foam on the chocolate.
Yeah, because it's in the pre-Hispanic idea of drinking a chocolate, the foam represented the soul, so it has a lot of spiritual connection to it.
Yeah. And you can feel that when you drink a really nice craft chocolate or an artisan hot chocolate made with cacao. You can really feel that it's so powerful. With for me, it's more than just flavor. That's why it's.
Yeah, we love that because like we started with the chocolate bars because it was like it was easier for us to start there so that we could be more, or we could be appreciated by people who are not very familiar with traditional drinks. But then that's why we incorporated drinking chocolate, the discs.
Yes.
Then we launched the Molinillo. Now with Eduardo Barrita, also in Oaxaca, is black labels. And so that people can have like a whole experience like drinking chocolate. It's black label.
Yeah, beautiful. I remember the first time I drank from a jicara, like from the calabash when you make from the fruit, to have that bowl to drink from. So light, and then you feel the weight of the drink, and it's just delicious. And you have
water based.
When it's really good chocolate, I prefer water based, because then I taste the cacao. And you? Do you drink your drinking chocolate with milk or with water?
Grandma says milk.
I can have both. Depends on the day.
True. It's all about the day. Emotions of.
I can have tecpatán with almond milk, but no, I can have soconusco with almond milk and tecpatán with water. I think that tecpatán in water, you can appreciate more like those like tasting notes like clove, like spices.
You can just chew it up. It's so tasteful.
A lot of times that's what I do. I just enjoy the flavor. I want the richness, and I love to feel the chocolate melt because it really fills the mouth. So a lot of time I end up eating the chocolate instead of drinking chocolate.
I think, that's why we all as kids did when we were, younger and just sneaking in your grandma's pantry and finding like a chocolate de mesa and just buy it. And it was part of everybody's childhood here in Mexico. So it's okay to buy it.
That's the adrenaline of being catch up by your grandma.
And chocolate de mesa, for everyone, that's the round discs that you use to make the drinking chocolate. And you launched a couple of the discs of chocolate de mesa, and one of them is with cacao lavado. And that's also a really interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, because it's the most traditional post-harvest way of processing cacao in Mexico. Like fermentation is something brought by Europeans. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was like early 1900s. Maybe I don't have the exact date. No, I think it was in the 60s. Maybe it was not that far ago. I'm not sure, but it was brought by Europeans. But here, I mean, our mole, our traditional drinks, like that those tasting notes from the lavado is something that we are so used to. So to be more consistent and more in alignment with our roots, that's why we wanted to create at least two different cacao lavado and chocolate de mesa with cacao lavado. But we understand that there's people who are so used to fermented cacao. The idea of fermented as a way to define it as fine, which to us is kind of funny. I mean, not funny, but just different. So that's why we still created a chocolate de mesa. We love fermented for our chocolate bars, but for chocolate for drinking, like chocolate de mesa, we love lavado. We're obsessed with lavado.
It's different, but it's also for us just to part of educating people. Also, like the fermented one, it's so dense and heavy with milk that you can sense all these flavors of the fermented, but also the lavado is light and tasteful without this, like Kike said, this fine process. It's like, no, you're tasting the cacao as it is. You don't have to add anything, because is this misconception of the cacao is not fermented, it's not developing flavors. No, the cacao has their own flavors. So that's why we have this too.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that it's interesting how fermentation changes and develops the flavors. You can appreciate other flavors that you wouldn't have, like fruitiness or some like acidity, like fruity acidity or citrusy notes. But it's not that. If it's not to us, or here in Mexico, if it's not fermented, we don't consider it as a second quality cacao. Like to us, it's the cacao that we're used to consume since we were babies.
Yeah. And they.
It's
That's dangerous. You can feeding babies with chocolate is dangerous.
But it's so important to educate people and to share knowledge, because otherwise it's so easy to lock ourselves in one idea. And when we believe we know something, it's so easy to be closed and say, okay, this is how it is, and end of story. Until someone proves you wrong, to show you that, look what amazing flavors you can get even with unfermented cacao. And then you can see the difference. And I think a lot of people also appreciate and understand how much of a difference fermentation can make, since we can have, that's one of the big shifts of developing the flavor of the cacao. And that is very distinguished when you also taste the lavado, to be able to.
Yeah, definitely. We also look forward to more lavado regions. Like we look to that in the near future.
Nice. More to come. That's exciting.
Always innovating.
Always. I am 100% sure there's going to be a lot more happening on your end. We've got some interesting questions from the audience. First, we've got a really hard question for me. ¿Y cuál es la vara favorita de Cuna de Sana? So, mi vara favorita es, no puedo decidir. Y como ha dicho Mariana antes, hablando de leche o agua con el chocolate caliente, depende del día, pero me encanta su barra de hibiscus, la jamaica, porque me da memorias tomando agua fresca de Jamaica en México. No es un sabor común aquí, pero algo que para mí da un regalo de México cada vez que lo como. So the first question was in Spanish about which bar from you is my favorite, and I said it's the hibiscus bar because it has such an amazing, like, it brings back amazing memories for me being in Mexico, because that's where the hibiscus, the Jamaica, became part of my daily life, a flavor that I wasn't accustomed to at all before living in Mexico. But it was a hard choice, and I had to also say that it always depends on the day what bar I'm craving at the moment. Do you have a favorite bar?
Tricky question. Nice.
Yeah.
We do, but we have a couple of them. We don't have like a favorite. Because it always depends also on the mood and the weather and the occasion. Like if you're drinking a mezcal or if you just woke up in the morning, it depends a lot.
A very politically correct and a very good answer, because that's the way it depends. What are you craving at the moment? Yeah. Another difficult question is what flavors and fruit is not recommended to mix with chocolate? Do you feel like the flavors will collide with the cacao? And of course, this would be a question that works with your cacao, because all the cacao in the world will be different. But have you any experience that your cacao or the cacao from different parts of Mexico that you work with doesn't go with a specific fruit or flavor that you have tried, maybe?
Like you mean to not like fruit tasting notes in the cacao, but just like pairing a fruit with our chocolate? Is that correct?
As an inclusion, as a...
Oh, as an inclusion. I don't know.
I don't think that it's a flavor that can't pair, but I do think of some flavors that can't pop. There's some flavors that are too weak. Well, not weak, like too soft to be with or cacaos, because the acidity or these fruity notes are too strong, and we have tried some fruits that is like, oh, okay, add some more, add some more, add some more. Okay, it doesn't taste like anything. So I think it's not a fruit that doesn't go well, but I don't know if that, no. No, es que sí hemos hecho frutas que yeah, like pear, sometimes, I don't know, apple, and these fruits in inclusions, yeah, water-based fruits that you have to lose this water to can add the fruits to the chocolate, and when they lose the water, lose a lot of their flavor. So when you add it, it's a little weak flavor, and this is when it happens. It's sad, but it happens.
Yeah.
But it's not, as I said, it's not that it doesn't go well. It's like, no, you're tasting it like, oh, no, it's just isn't there.
And we also have like a very specific process when we want to launch a product officially. Like it has to go through a like internal set of different like internal tastings. Then we validate with some consumers who we know that they have like a very developed palate tasting skills. So yeah, we've done a lot of tastings. I mean, testing since we started, even before we launched the project. But yeah, but sometimes they just stay there, like they don't pass like all of the stages of the launch process.
We have to see that break or that inclusion is Mexican or is developed in Mexico, and it has a story, it has a background, and we can reach it, and all of that.
Lovely. And these comments works really well with one of the comments that we received. They write, "This is not a question, but a compliment for Mariana. You woman alquimista del cacao. I adore the chili bar." So to really that it's a skill. You have to work really hard, and I know you work as a team, and everyone adds their opinions. So no bar will leave your kitchen without the full approval. But compliments are to be cherished. So take that with you, Mariana. We've got some more questions. So we kind of touched on this already, but when looking at your beautiful molinillo, someone asked if you sell the molinillos.
Yes, we do. Or we mean outside of Mexico?
Yes.
We just exported to our distributor some molinillos, and in the US, but in other places of the world, we can definitely like quote shipping and all that. Maybe expensive, the shipping more than the molinillo, but yes, we can sell the molinillo overseas. We can ship overseas. We do that actually.
That's really good to know, because so far your chocolate is not very accessible. It's not all over the world, but then it's really good for people to know that they can reach out to you if they are willing to pay the shipment. And when you really crave chocolate, it usually doesn't matter that the shipment is...
Well, and if the people who are watching this or will watch this are in a country where we are not yet present, and if they have like a favorite stockist they want to suggest us to contact me, we love to have our products in our molinillos and our bowls everywhere in the world. We're working very hard to make that possible.
Yeah, that's really good to know. And one question that I also promised in the beginning that we would talk about, and we haven't gotten there yet, is about your amazing packaging. So can you please tell us about the packaging? And I showed earlier for those of you who haven't seen it. So a little bit about the store. We touched on it because we talked about the importance of the piedra, the stone. But please talk a little bit more about the design. I would say both the packaging and the inside of the bar, because the mold is also beautiful.
Yeah, well, the design, like we, obviously the creative studio and Vicky, Ricardo, like they wanted to create, because Vicky, by the way, is also co-founder of Cuna De Piedra, and they wanted to like create like this, like an artwork or a masterpiece or a sculpture that could be like something that you could find like at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. So yeah, as I said, like we love the connection with lava stone. We like feel very inspired by contemporary artists working with stone, and so that's why the name is Cuna De Piedra. The word piedra means stone. So this it's kind of like a cradle of stone that you could maybe find at the National Museum of Anthropology in a parallel world. And yeah, it was inspiration. And also inside, there's this scripture on the mold. And that typography, it's like if it was like crafted carved in stone. It says Mexico, Cradle of Cacao, from bean to bar. So they wanted to create this experience of like if you were like unfolding something like really precious, and then there's this surprise of very colorful foil in most of the bars. We have like black foil, pink foil, and turquoise. And it was really important to us to make that statement that we consider Mexico as the cradle of cacao. I mean, we all know that cacao is endemic from the Amazon, obviously, but here we have like 4,000 years of uninterrupted culture related to cacao, lots of impact in the culture. It was a place that we feel like calling it the cradle of cacao. So it was like a strong statement that we wanted to share, remind ourselves and share outside of Mexico. And the packaging, like it's so sleek, so beautiful. We are so deeply in love with it, and we wanted, to create this contemporary Mexican super sleek as appearance, because we wanted also to debunk the idea that this design, either design or art or everything that is from Mexico, like it's low quality. That's the idea that we want to debunk, that there's outside of Mexico. And it's the same with products. Like people outside of Mexico consider food products or products in general, some of the people consider it to be like of less quality. So we want to remind ourselves and show the rest of the world that we can do super interesting things here with lots of impact and with super high quality. So that's why we invested a lot in creating like a very beautiful packaging.
With great success. And that's really important, and to educate people and to highlight these or challenge the ideas that people have. I think that's really beautiful. And anyone who look at a packaging like this will know that it's a craft product.
Yeah, it is.
And we talked a little bit before about the history, and now to bring it in again with the idea that is the cradle of cacao, where it comes from. And for a long time, Mexico was thought of as where cacao came from originally, before these findings in the Amazon. And I hear people say that cacao comes from Mexico. So it's all about education. But most of the history, like the longest history, the documented history, is still from Mexico. So I understand.
Well, I think that we are gonna still in the future see more findings and like link the story, and it's gonna take us through the Amazon, of course. But the cultural impact, that's why we feel it like a spiritually like our own, like that Mexico or Mesoamerica was home because of the cultural impact through millennia. But it will obviously store in the future. I think archaeology findings will take us to the Amazon, obviously.
I'm so curious to know more about the history. It feels like there's so much yet to discover. And that's why it's so beautiful that there are quite a lot of things documented from Mexico, from Mesoamerica. And in that sense, you have like a starting point in history with cacao right there, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's not like we want to demonstrate or say like, yeah, we are the ones who own this or whatever. It's just like we want to honor this story and to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Through our chocolate bars or drinking chocolate.
I love that. More chocolate and more knowledge and curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this next question connects us to a little bit of the future. So we've already touched upon you wanting to do some new things and you have ideas, but are you considering using any other spirits or alcohols in your bar besides the mezcal one?
I mean, we have that in mind since the beginning, but right now, like, we are looking for more origins. We're looking for new places to sell our chocolate bars. Japan is super interesting right now to us. We love how people from there appreciate, have like this appreciation for food in general. And yeah, we're developing new products as well. Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, now you're just making all of us really curious. We can't wait.
Yeah, we will. We'll do something great.
Do you have any idea of when will be the next launch of something new? Is it coming really soon, or do we have to wait a while?
No, it's really, really soon. Yeah.
Oh.
So we were going to launch it at the Norway Chocolate Festival, but now the festival got postponed, so we're going to do like a local launch. Too bad that like not many people will have access to that item, but yeah, we'll definitely launch in October.
Oh, wow. Okay, so everyone keep your eye out in October. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, if you want to order the Maldillo, just wait until our next launch, so maybe you can do the same shipping for everything.
Exactly.
All about extra shippings.
That's amazing. And if anyone else has some more questions, please pop them in now in Espanol, in English, so we can get to them before I'm going to let these amazing people continue with their hard work. So could you please tell me a little bit, what is your vision for the future? What do you think is going to happen with craft chocolate and cacao, both for you as a company, but also in Mexico? What is the future like? Now we didn't hear you. That's a secret company.
Okay, so I'm going to say what's my perspective. I think Mexico is going to grow a lot because there are a lot of new interesting projects right now, and that we weren't seeing, this momentum like 3 or 5 years ago. And right now, like we notice how a lot of people, even they ask us if they want to learn from us or ask us if we can give a course to people that they want to start working in their kitchen, or maybe like renting a place or whatever. But a lot of people are interested in working with cacao, which makes us really happy because, as you know, like when you were in Mexico, I'm sure like you went to a supermarket and you saw a lot of big food company chocolates. So there's like, people growing in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, there's this connection, especially in the big cities, mostly in the big cities, with the actual roots of chocolate making. So this makes us really happy. I think it's going to start to be like when, like 15 years ago, the craft beer industry was a thing here in Mexico. Maybe you noticed that when you worked here.
Yeah, it was like starting to, because I lived there like full on in 2014, and then the craft beer, there was things happening, but it was still challenging for people to become a craft beer maker. So that's really interesting to make that parallel, because a lot of times make the parallel to specialty coffee.
Exactly, as well. And so I think that's a very positive thing, because Like here in Mexico, like we as a collective, we have the possibility of working together to have more recognition as a small industry, and so people can like appreciate why paying for a bean-to-bar chocolate bar. You know, that difference of paying for an extra um, and versus a big food company chocolate bar. So we still have to educate a lot and work a lot about with that. But I see the future in a positive way here in Mexico. Yeah.
A lot of hard work to do. Because it's not only our hard work in the field, in Tabasco and Chiapas. It's so difficult for the farmers to wait the climate not to change or changing a lot, or all the things that are happening with the pandemic. And these years specifically were too hard for them. So yeah, it just like he just said, we will see this increase like so good, but our hopes, we have to work so hard to pass on that hopes to them that hey, let's work together and we'll go to this through and we'll make it happen. And if we all together, we will make it happen. And if you are okay, we will be okay. And the chocolate, the Mexican chocolate will get to the world and we're all going to be as great as the Tenochtitlan was.
It's like if we are not very aware of that, like farmers are gonna sell off their land, start doing something else. So it will be a shame to lose that Mexican cacao because of the economy or people not appreciating or like wanting big food chocolate bar or local options that we have. That would be a shame. Like, because there's some markets for everything. But I'm sure there's a market here in Mexico for craft chocolate, Mexican craft chocolate, and we're very positive that it's going to grow.
I'm happy to hear that. And it's very well said that it's a team effort. You need to work together. You need to be inspired both as makers and as farmers, like all of the entrepreneurship and all of the hard work, that it's equally important. And to help each other be hopeful when times are rough, even like you mentioned, the pandemic or with the climate change, challenges with the weather, and so on. So that's really positive for a positive and happy chocolate future. But yeah, lots of hard work. Definitely. Is there anything else that you feel like this is something that we would really like to share with the people listening and the people who will watch the replay before we finish for today?
Thank you. It feels very, very cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and loving our product and giving all the support. We're making this for you.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us make what we love the most. Thanks for buying our bars and liking it and following like our journey. We still have so much to do, but to learn, and we're so excited for the years to come. And you guys join us in this journey.
People in the comments are saying thank you as well. Gracias a ustedes. And I agree. Thank you so much for doing this, for bringing more amazing Mexican cacao and Mexican chocolate out into the world so that people can learn and appreciate it. I'm really grateful, and I so look forward to see what's going to happen in October. Now I'm going to be curious for a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I see you in person.
Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Yes, thanks everyone for watching and for your questions. Gracias, Enrique, Mariana, and Gamma. Espero que nos veamos pronto, que voy a México pronto, ojalá. So, thank you so much. And have a wonderful yeah. Have a wonderful one. Goodbye. Hasta luego. Ciao.